Hey guys, what is up? I am here with a very special guest, Austin Krell, a writer for the Philadelphia 76ers. Introduce yourself.
Thanks for having me, Mitch. It's I'm always happy to come on to different people's shows and talk about the team. It's always fun.
Yeah, it was actually kind of funny too, because I just saw your picture on Twitter, and I'm like, you know what? What the hell? And I was just like, I DM'd you, and boom. Perfect.
There you
So,
go.
yeah, how'd you get into being a writer, anyways? Like for the Sixers, what's your background?
I kind of just I like it was just a random, DM, just like you DM'd me, um I was interested in writing casually, and then I kind of realized that I had a gift for it, and that people enjoyed my content, and it kind of just took off from there, and it was something that I really found purpose in, and ever since then, it's kind of just been taken off. So,
Wow, that's just amazing. So you just like who's your DM exactly? Just like the Sixers organization or
no, there was a blog that I I've kind of become well, I've helped build since then, and so they took me on board, and lo and behold, it's kind of flourished and become something where now I cover the team in person every night. So it's definitely an interesting turn of events. It was not what I went to school for, but I think it's certainly the area that I want to go down for sure. So
right. Now are you always like a Sixers fan? Like growing up, you were a Sixers fan or
yeah, I grew up in the area, so I think I kind of gravitated towards the local team just as anyone else would. Um, but I think you also have to be careful, because once you realize that this is the path that you want to follow in life, you have to you have to kind of abandon your fandom in a sense, and you become a fan of the story, a fan of the game and the league in general, but you, more so than anything, you have to remain objective in your analysis and opinions. So
wow, just incredible. Now, what do you think about this roster as a whole right now? Like going into the preseason, well, almost done the preseason now.
um I would say what I think of the team right now is that they're a little bit of a mess at the moment. They've won a couple preseason games, but those are preseason games. The opponents that are not the opponents have just as little to play for as the Sixers do here. So, it's ultimately going to be coming down to guys who are just working to get roster spots and working to get rotation spots. Those are the guys that are really going to come out and play. So you just take in those guys. You kind of put together your notes and your ideas about them, and then it's on to the next day. And it's a very fast paced environment. But I think ultimately what we can say to this point is, um, you have Embiid. It seems like you have Simmons coming back. Um, and I think ultimately, like, people can be as mad as they want about Simmons and whatnot. What it comes down to is, he makes you a better regular season team, and and you need to be a good regular season team to get a high seed in the playoffs and have an advantage in the playoffs. So they need him, even if the fans don't want to admit it. Um, they're one of the better teams fit wise for him, even no matter what he says. So I think it would be nice if this would be an epiphany moment for him, where he can realize, okay, I have to make amends here and work this out. But I think there were, other alternatives at play here. Like, I want to get my money back, and then I want to dip, kind of thing.
Yeah,
That isn't me saying that's what's happening, but I don't think intentions are always pure. That's for sure.
right, right. I was actually saw something on Instagram with John Clark that he met with Doc Rivers and Maury, and they're working together now, trying to figure something out.
Well,
So
last night, Doc said that he hasn't talked to Ben since like the end of the season, and so did Joel. So I just I don't know what realistically, like, what that means for the outlook of the season. I don't know that there's going to be a la di da. I'm going to come and be peaceful, and we're going to just resume where we were. It's going to take work, but I think it's salvageable, at least to the point where they can agree to terms on a trade with a team that they really that they want, that they have a package that they like.
Mhm. So this is actually a good question. How do you find Furkan as a point guard?
Oh boy.
I love
um,
Furkan. Like I'm a huge fan of Korkmaz. I am.
I I think Ferk was pretty pure last night. I think he enjoyed the matchup and the opportunity. Um, I also think you have to take stock in who was defending him. And I mean, credit to Javon Carter is an excellent defender as a one-on-one matchup. Um, and they have some other guys that are good defenders, but I think what it comes down to is um, it's not a solution long term. I think your point guards are going to be Shake Milton, which I would not advise, but
Mhm.
Tyrese Maxey and I guess Ben Simmons. So the point Ferk was a fun preseason game idea, but I think if that's what you're relying on come the regular season in real situations, whether it be starting lineup or bench, you have a bigger problem to play.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so scary. Our point guard position is so weak now. I mean, if Ben Simmons comes back, sure that can help, but it's just like it's so weak. We need it. I feel like you give Maxi a chance. You agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they still have to like address like is Ben a point guard? What side of the bridge are we going to stand on? Is he a point guard? Is he not a point guard? And I think he's a very good facilitator, but I don't know that he's a guy that is like by himself opening up alleys for his teammates on a consistent basis. So I think it's depending on how you define a point guard, um, your definition might change, but they have to. I mean, that's going to be a question. They have to. I mean, it's the question that started this whole situation. And some say with Doc answering that he doesn't know if Ben's a point guard. So they're going to have to address that. And I'd be interested to see what Doc has to say. I would guess he'd be like, yeah, he's a point guard, but I'm not going to put words in his mouth. I don't know. So it's going to definitely be an interesting press availability if Ben does play.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because with the game last night, I was live streaming the game with a buddy of mine, and we were watching the game, and I noticed there was so much spacing. Like that was beautiful to see. With
Yeah,
Ben Simmons, you see him at the dunkage block not do anything, and it becomes 4-on-5. For me,
yeah,
that's like my biggest gripe.
yeah. Um, the the spacing in the preseason has been really good so far for the most part, and I think it's the type of thing where like those are the positives of not having Ben, is that the spacing is just naturally going to be better. But I also think there are things that he does that people discount that make them as a team better. Like, sure, Ben's not a shooter and he may not even be a great half court creator, but he creates a ton of shots for Seth and Danny. So I mean, that's value that you have to credit to him, even if it's not him directly scoring the ball himself.
Yeah, but when it comes to like a star power, like especially his contract, you want him to put up the baskets. I mean, he's great on defense, beautiful, like defensive player of the year. But then you look at Seth Curry, who can't play defense, but he can drop 30 points. So it's just like, would you rather have him score or defend? And it's like 50-50 there.
Yeah, I don't think he like needs to be this elite scorer. Part that's probably because I don't think he'll ever be an elite scorer, but I think he just is somebody that needs to always exert like significant pressure on the interior of your defense to keep to really create open looks for his teammates. Like even if he never comes a jump shooter, um, if he's just using his athleticism and his size to get into the lane and create havoc, that's really what you need out of him, because you have a superstar matchup nightmare. You have two guys that can really shoot it from the outside, another guy that's a creator, off of like one or two dribbles. And so Ben's Ben, and I think the results from last season and the regular season tell you a lot about about how the team can play when they're functioning well. But I will say that um, they still really have not done a ton to address some of the issues of last offseason or of last season. And so what this is ultimately going to come down to, or else they're going to have the same fate, if not worse, because of chemistry. Um, has Ben gotten any better finally? Is someone else going to take a big step? Those are the big questions, or else you're looking at, trying to get a different answer to this to the same question.
Right, right. It's just amazing. I mean, this guy right here brings up a good point. It's clear that the team wants Ben Simmons back on the team, although the fans feel the opposite. Is there a possibility for the fans to forgive him?
Everyone says no, and I think it's going to be a more hostile environment for a little
Mhm.
while. But
Yeah,
ultimately, I think if he's playing really well and they're winning games, they're going to forget because winning conquers all.
yeah, yeah. What actually bothers me the most about Ben Simmons is like in the Hawks series, right? He put up like 4 shots, and then in the press conference, he goes, "Okay, I need to be more aggressive." Then the next game, he doesn't do that. So that's what really kind of grinds my gears, his accountability for himself.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that talks about accountability, but then doesn't actually act on it. I mean, its actions speak louder than words, and it's practicing what you preach. And he's somebody who, to this point, hasn't really done that.
Yeah, yeah, it's just tough. But I for the 3-point shooting in this preseason, I mean, the one game we won, we put up 49% from three, and last night you had Isaiah Joe going like what 4 for 7, something like that, 4 for 9, and then Furkan Korkmaz lighting it up. Will we keep on seeing that with Ben Simmons there? I mean, those guys are going to get their shots though, but I love the spacing. I mean, it's so important for this team for Embiid to work.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 3-point volume is something that'll probably persist. Um, Maybe not to like the same volume or in like to the same frequency that you see um, that you see here without Ben. But I also think that, like, just by shooting more than they shot last year, they'll be fine. Like last year, they were not a prolific 3-point shooting team at all, um, and so that was sort of like it's about finding the balance. And like they don't need to be the Houston Rockets under Daryl Morey where they're shooting 50 something threes per game, but they do need to take more just because the simple math says that that three is more than two, and you can't be getting out attempted from three every night because you're ultimately going to lose those games sometimes.
Right, right. Now, I just had to ask this because I have this Embiid jersey behind me. How do you feel about Embiid speaking out on the whole Ben Simmons situation?
Um, would I have advised it? I probably would not have advised it. Um, but I see where he's coming from, and I think it's about time he had, good for him to get that off his chest. However, I would say like if the goal is to win championships and you're trying to get the best player you have for a disgruntled Ben Simmons, um, you're not going to help his trade value by trashing him, like to the media. So I think that the goal should be to wait for him to get out of town and then say what you got to say. But any type of off color comment like that is going to ultimately have repercussions on what his value is in the open market.
Yeah, but with the star player, like a superstar, arguably MVP, when you want him to like speak out for the rest of the locker room, because the rest of the locker room might be feeling the same way, but they don't have the enough like guts to say it like he did.
I
So
would say they probably would like him to. I mean, I, I think if you say it in the locker room, it's probably carries some weight. But I think these are things that you can say after the trade has been done, so that way it's not like going to there's no sunk cost at this point. Like the way that, like, if you say it before a trade goes through, teams are going to read that, or teams are going to hear that. They're going to when they're negotiating their trades, they're going to say, well, this guy comes with all this baggage and this ego. I mean, look what Joel said about him. It's going to hurt his trade value. So I mean, that's the type of thing that you keep to yourself maybe until the trade is done. But I do see I do see that there is, I see where he's coming from. He's a human and he's frustrated, and he's seen, he's just talking the truth. He's saying, they took away Jimmy Butler, but also, they signed Horford, which was clearly to an insurance policy for Embiid, and it was another move favoring Simmons. So I totally understand where he's coming from, where he's like, we had this piece, we had this team put together that was good, and now look at us. We built around Ben, and now we are not as good, and we're in this situation. So he wanted us to build around him, and then now he wants out. Like, it does leave them in a bad spot. But I think, again, like the conversation should be, Joel, we know you're upset. We know, you're frustrated. We all get it. We're all frustrated with the situation. You want to win a championship. We want to win a championship. We want to get the best piece back we can for Ben. Let's keep this political and I guess the right word, the respectful for the time being, and then you can let it all out once it's all solved and taken care of.
Yeah. So you were saying like bring up a good value for Ben Simmons, like in a trade. How do you feel about Daryl Morey with these trade offers, like these 3 first rounders, 3 pick swaps, and like all of this stuff? Like that's not realistic, in my opinion.
I think the idea is to wait until the you survey the season, you survey the field of guys that may want out or may not want out, and you make a move then. I mean, I think the whole idea is to bank on a guy requesting a trade from his current situation. That'd be Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard, or what have you, another star potentially. You're waiting. That's the situation that you're waiting to unravel, and it never came to this offseason. So I think the conversation then becomes, well, let's get Ben back here. Let's get him in the building, so we at least have something to use in our trade leverage when we're trying to get trade packages going. And if nothing comes right now, then we get him to play. He plays well. Maybe that value goes up by the deadline, and then we can move him then.
Yeah, it's just tough, but he is a regular season guy. He is. So with Ben Simmons in the lineup, like point guard or power forward, wherever, how well do you see the Sixers perform this season? Like 4th seed, 1 seed again, or where do you see that fall?
I think if they are, like it's very hard to say, because like you have the on court part, but you also have the chemistry part, which is just it's not something, it's not easy to measure. I would probably say if Ben comes back and they're on good footing, they'll probably be fine, and they'll probably be a 3 seed or a 2 seed, whatever, and they'll be all right. But if he doesn't come back, or this is lingering for an extended period of time, or if the chemistry just never gets right, I think then you could see them falter 4 or 5, whatever. I think it's an improvement from where they were a week ago. A week ago, I would have said they're likely looking at like a play-in game right now, and maybe they'll be lucky to avoid that. But I think now if you can get some level of commitment out of Simmons, and some level of like buy-in, I think you can capture some of what you had last year and get back to a similar point. Maybe there's another trade scenario at the deadline that you can use to improve the team in other ways, and maybe avoid the issues of last playoffs. But I think ultimately him coming back is the best possible scenario, because you weren't going to get what you needed for him on the market, and you can't give him up for nothing because he's too good.
Right, right, yeah, and it, oh my god, I almost said NFC East. I'm still in football talk. Um, in the Eastern Conference, that it got tough. It got really tough. The Bulls, the Heat, the Nets, the Bucks. I'm gonna include the Knicks in there. The Hawks. It got really competitive. So I thank God Ben Simmons is like coming back, so we're still able to compete with that, but. It's just tough. I don't think they can be number one. I'm being honest here. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think time will tell what they can be. I mean, I wouldn't have said they'd be a 1 seed last year. They were. It's also because you got a lot of different weird situations coming out. But I would say that if teams are going to rest games, because I think we've all seen that like playoffs are what matter. A lot of odd situations last year, shortened off season again this past summer. I think you might see a scenario where teams are resting still a little bit, and then next year is when they return to full normalcy. And so I think there's a chance that they could maybe obtain similar footing to what they had last offseason. But it's probably not going to happen that they get the 1 seed again, just because everyone
Yeah.
got better.
Now my guy Greg Melly just said, hard to think Ben lasts for the playoffs though. Best case a guy ass out and we have the pieces to center around Ben. Mid case Ben can be moved for more than now. Worse, Ben plays on the injured card, on hurt card. I said in the beginning he could pull a Kawhi Leonard from Spurs.
Yeah, I mean that's probably what like the most advisable thing for him. I mean, for him to do from the start. I mean, if he really was going to be intent on a holdout, show up but don't play. Like that way, he can still get his money, at least to some degree, and he's still sending the message he wants to send. But he played it the way he wanted to play it, which was I'm going to hold out and make a big dramatic escapade out of this. So he lost money, and that's that. And it looks like he got tired of losing money really fast.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing. Rich Paul didn't know that you won't get the money back if you get traded. I
Yeah,
mean, the way Rich Paul became an agent, though, I mean, like, I love that. I love the grind. I love the hustle. But you got to learn how to read a contract, though.
yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah,
that was definitely kind of ridiculous that he um, miscalculated that stuff from the contract. That was pretty ridiculous.
yeah. Now, this is a good question. What is the best trade you would think for Ben? But here's the funny thing, though. We were close to getting James Harden. We were this close, and now we're talking about CJ McCollum, Malcolm Brogdon in the first. It's ridiculous. We should have taken. I think now we should have taken Malcolm Brogdon in the first.
I mean, that looked like a good deal a week ago, but then now that Ben's back, good thing you didn't trade him. I, I've always been in the boat that you wait and wait and wait and wait and wait for something to happen with another team, and then you make you really push hard with the Ben trade. He's an underrated player, I think, Ben Simmons, even though he gets a lot of stuff, a lot of talk, even though he's acted out. I think he's, I can see why he'd be frustrated with some of the things, even though he's underperformed and he hasn't developed himself and he has to look in the mirror. He's still an excellent player. He's going to help you. He's going to help any team win regular season games. And if you can build next to him the right way, that's a very solid second best player, or third best player.
Yeah. The franchise player is Embiid or Ben. It is obviously Embiid.
It's
I
Embiid.
mean,
Yep.
the way he was playing last year. I mean, do you see Embiid keeping up that same momentum for the rest of this year? Do you see that?
Doc said that he came back in as good of shape, if not better. When I believe he said that when we was asked about it. So I think if we're using conditioning and physical shape as a barometer of how prepared or able a guy is to restore the same play that he had previous season, I think his conditioning is a good barometer, and if that's the case, they're in luck.
Yeah. His value will raise when teams around the league do worse and or better than expected. Morey has played this really well. The waiting game is the move.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just suck. I mean, it's just like it's so confusing. So let Embiid MVP if Ben sits. I mean, with the spacing, right? With the spacing,
I think
it's
that's
good.
probably not going to happen. I just don't think there's enough like supporting story behind him in terms of like the national media. Um, it'll probably be Luca.
My pick is Zach. My pick was Luca last year.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, let him, let Ben go already. People have had like so much. I'm one of them. Like honestly, I'm like I had enough of this guy. I haven't made a Ben Simmons video in months. Like I could not stand this guy. I mean, I really want to. I'm really am curious how long this hate is gonna last. I mean, if he puts up like a triple double and then boop, he's fine. I mean, I really want to know how long this hate's gonna last.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he's not giving effort, he's in trouble. If he's the same player and doesn't really seem to care, trouble. If he's playing hard and he's showing at least some dedication or desire to be a better player, then there's a chance that he could be that this thing can be turned around. I mean, again, no one's going to say anything if no one's going to have a long term memory of this whole thing if they win games.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how do you feel about his workout clips in the summer? Like him shooting deep threes and
Yeah,
making like all these fadeaways, and then just like
I've seen that enough in my lifetime to know it's not to fall for it. So
it's getting ridiculous. To me, honestly, I don't even think he wants to be a basketball player. Honestly, that's why he wanted to be shipped out to LA. He's a part of like this gaming team, FaZe Clan, and he doesn't even have a basketball hoop at his house.
yeah, I mean that I don't know that I'd read too much into that. Like that's just he's work is work and home is home. I mean I get it. I mean a lot of guys do have that, but some guys don't. I mean it is it doesn't it's something that if you wanted to nitpick at you could, but ultimately it's not something that I think too much about.
Right, right. Now, let's say they actually let Allen Iverson work in the organization, right? Let's say that actually happens. Would that make a more of an impact on Ben Simmons, to like try harder and work harder?
Um, Probably not. I think what you would probably see is the Sixers be linked and become a more attractive destination for free agents, which I think is ultimately what they want. So I think in that sense he would be helpful, but I think Ben Simmons is Ben Simmons. Like we've seen enough people get recycled in and out of the organization to know that it's not going to be any kind of external motivators that are going to change him. It's going to be internal.
Yeah. So Ben is a good player, but I think he has an ego problem. Best example is Giannis. When we can see his improvement, Ben has so many vets that are waiting for to help him, but I don't see a lot of improvement.
It's a good point. Yeah, I mean, it's again, it's external.
Yeah.
It's internal. It's all on him, um, to to own his issues and be better.
Yeah, but it looks like it's not working as of right now. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really what got into it. Um, yeah. How do you feel the bench right now? We talked about it a little bit, but how do you feel about our bench? Because I don't think our bench is that good. People are saying it's deep because of Maxi and Isaiah Joe, but for me, it's not that good, even with the addition of Andre Drummond.
I think it's gonna be better, just because you have shooting, you have Tyrese Maxey, who I think they trust more, and I think they have a big bodied big man that can that can play versatile basketball. And so in that sense, I think that's going to be really helpful, and I think that's something that they can build on, quite frankly. And so I think the bench should be better, maybe not great, but still better.
Would Isaiah Joe get the minutes? That's my question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I get the sense that he probably is getting closer to the rotation. I don't know that it'll happen right at the bat. I think he's probably closer than Paul Reed is, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Paul Reed, I think he's really good. It's just like he needs to get the time of day. I mean, he won G League MVP and rookie in the same year.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Um, it's it's crazy. Paul Reed's a really good find in the second round of the draft. Um, Super athletic, and I think that's when you're a guy like that, and you can do a lot of things to a serviceable degree. You become a very interesting role player, and then from there you can develop into something more. But I think for a team that has a coach that does not always trust young guys, for a team that has deep playoff aspirations, at least they did. Um, it doesn't bode well for a guy like Paul Reed to get minutes unless he can really shoot the ball, and he's not a very good shooter yet. So with time, that can come, but I think he's a couple of years away.
Yeah. Apart from Ben, would there be any other blockbuster trades for the Sixers? I can't see any right now. It's got to be like out of the blue. Be like, I don't know, Isaiah Joe's gone. I don't know. It's got to be out of the blue for me. I don't see anything.
So I think the issue with that is going to be like the money. Like you have to make the money work, and if it's not Ben, it's going to be Tobias, and Tobias is I don't think he's viewed as a positive value contract. So you're
Right.
basically asking a team to trade their star for a negative contract, and then you're gonna justify it by including picks and young pieces. Maybe someone buys into that, but I don't know that I see that on the horizon.
I don't either. What's with the Sixers and having like worse contracts? Like they gave Horford a bad contract, Tobias Harris a bad one. I can go on and on for years. I mean, I just don't get it.
They like spending money. They like spending money, and it's if you're in line for a payday, I think the Sixers of old are a good place for you to go because
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Joel Embiid got that super max extension, which is well deserved. That is well deserved. So
yeah, for sure.
you you talked about Doc Rivers. Now, a lot of fans on like Twitter and stuff and all over the internet, they want Doc Rivers gone. Now, I'm like, he's good for the post regular season, like a Ben Simmons situation, but when it comes to the postseason, I think he's overrated. Honestly.
I could see why people would be frustrated with Doc, and they're justifiable frustrations.
Hmm.
But I think with Doc, it's like put yourself in his shoes. I don't know how many coaches would have been able to coach around a starting point guard that like was nothing resembling himself.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually got something on Twitter from Keith Pompey right now. Sources say Ben Simmons took his required physical today for the Sixers. His playing status for this season is still to be determined. Simmons can't be around teammates for 5 days due to the NBA protocol and won't. So he won't travel to the finale preseason game on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's good. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
God,
it sounds like he's progressing towards getting back to the regular, which is good. But it doesn't really matter if he doesn't really buy in. That's what you need. That's what they need to figure out.
Sixers spending is as bad as Philly spending.
I don't know. That's an interesting one.
I
I
I don't watch baseball as much, but I know like a lot of things. But
I would
contracts are not
say
my forte when it comes
probably
to.
not. Well, no, probably worse. It's probably worse. Yeah.
Oh wow! And just like so, what are your thoughts on Maxi and how he progressed throughout his first 2 years?
Maxi, I think is a really interesting young player. Super fast, um, fearless, and I think those are two things that you really need out of a young guy is super fast and fearless. Um, he's going to struggle with defensively for the early parts of his career, but I think once he puts it all together, you're going to have a guy that is going to be sniffing all stardom.
Yeah. I mean, Maxi is hardworking. He wants to play better. He wants to be better. For me, he's got that Allen Iverson mentality, and I love it. It's
Yeah,
great.
for sure.
Yeah, and it's nice to have actually a point guard that can shoot behind the three. I mean, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I don't know that I'd say he has like 100% point guard tendencies, but I think like he's fine and he's maybe even better than fine as a point guard in the modern NBA, just because the modern point guard is going to be more geared towards scoring and shooting. But I think there are some tendencies there for him to, um, you know, be more of a shooting guard than a point guard is what I would say.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Remember the game we were against Denver and we only had like 8 players and something, and Maxie had like 40 points or something. He played
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whole
30, yeah,
game.
yeah, 39. That was a heck of a game for sure.
I mean, I thought the game would be postponed, but I guess not. We had like 7 to 8 guys, and Maxie had to play the whole game. That's
Yeah,
just incredible, in my opinion. Like,
yeah.
uh, yeah. I mean, now, how do you see about Tobias? I mean, to me, he was an all-star player last year. He was an
Yeah,
all-star, but he didn't get the cut.
yeah, I thought he should have been an all-star, but he is not a household name, and it is ultimately more of a popularity contest than anything. But I thought he was the second best player on the team for big portions of last season, and he was super efficient. Um, had a couple bad playoff games, sure, but he was their second best player in the playoffs by a pretty significant margin.
Hmm. Yeah, especially that he came back in Game 6. Was it he made that comeback, or was that Game 5?
Game 6 against the Hawks, that was when he kind of like led the way a little bit.
Yeah, it was Game 6. Okay, because Game 5 that was just bad. I mean,
Yeah,
Curry and Embiid were the only two scoring.
yeah,
So
they were the only two that scored in the second half.
yeah, I mean, I love the way Steph Curry plays. I love, I love it. I mean, the three, the intensity. My dad calls him Curry Light, though, but it's just like I love the way he shoots. He's perfect for our system.
Yeah, he is. He's a really good shooter. He's starting to think less about it, which is what they need.
Yeah, yeah. Season predictions for the Sixers. It's too early for me.
Yeah, I think it's too early. I mean, it all depends on Ben's level of commitment and dedication. I think they can get as high as 3, um, and I think they could dip as low as 6 or 7.
Yeah, I mean, this Eastern Conference, like I said before, is like so packed. I mean, they added these teams added so many important pieces, but the Sixers did not do anything because of this whole Ben Simmons thing.
Yeah,
I mean, we could have added like I wish they got Kyle Lowry. That would be a perfect thing right there if we got Kyle Lowry, but he went to the Heat, so I'm not the one to knock, but it would be good.
right.
Now, how do you like the signing of Georges Niang? To me, that was a good fit next to Drummond.
Yeah, I like Niang a lot. I think he's a really nice guy who can put up a lot of shots on low usage. So he's just going to be a guy that spaces the floor and he can put it on the deck a little bit and get to the rim. Really really good. I think that's a sneakily good value contract for sure.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's definitely better than Mike Scott.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
How would you? How were your? I mean, what were your feelings towards Mike Scott last year? To me, I'd take one of them gone.
Uh, my feelings towards Mike Scott were I I guess my feelings would be if he's hot, let him play, right?
I think he retired now, didn't he?
Uh, I heard he was considering playing overseas, so that was something.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. If he
Yep.
went overseas, he'll be one of the oldest people there. So
He
I
could
don't
probably
understand.
average 40 in some league over there.
Yeah. What do you think will be the first reaction by the team when Simmons returns? I mean, he already made his return, technically.
Yeah, I think they'll accept him with open arms. I mean, I think they understand that it's just him going about his business, and he's just trying to do his best for him. And I think that they're friends, most of them. And at the end of the day, that certainly matters.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't contact like Embiid for the longest time. He did not even go to Danny Green's wedding.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many of the players on the roster did go to Danny Green's wedding, though.
Yeah, but it's just like at least give him a call or something. Like
Yeah, that's fair.
it's just like I just don't understand. Speaking of Danny Green, he's got a lot of shooting to do because you know what he said about the fans in the summer. So I'm like, you really gotta shoot like that. We signed you to 2 more years, and a lot of Phillies fans don't like him right now. I'm one of them.
Yeah, no, I'm a very big Danny Green advocate. I'm a very big Danny
Oh,
Green
okay.
advocate. I think he was really, really valuable to that team last year.
Yeah, I mean, I love Danny Green, especially in Game 5 when he was not there. We got blown out. I did
Yeah.
not know how important Danny Green was until after that game. I'm just like, wow. Simmons has a charging room set up in the janitor's closet. Bruh, I'm dead. But yeah, Danny Green's really gotta shoot, in my opinion, to get these fans back on board. I mean, these fans are like ruthless. They're ruthless this year, I have a feeling.
Yeah, they're a tough bunch. They're a tough bunch. They want to win and they want it, they want effort. So um
So,
it's not hard to get on their good side, but it's also not easy necessarily to stay on the good side, is what I would say.
right, right. It's just amazing that players don't want to come here to like play at all. Like, apparently, we're the worst city to play in front of. Apparently, I don't see that at all.
Some guys don't want to play in Philly. I think I realistically don't think that Philly's that much worse than any other fan base or any other city, but I do think that there is some harsh criticism at times.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it all started with that Russell Westbrook and that popcorn thing.
Yeah,
I
could
mean,
be.
that popcorn thing is just ridiculous. And
Yeah.
my friend went to the next game after that happened. They put the whole thing with glass right there, so you couldn't do anything.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, my friend was like, he took a picture and sent it to me. I'm like, wait, you can't even look down anymore? I guess not. Which teams are you most excited for this season? You want to take that? I'll answer after.
Oh, I guess Chicago is one that I like.
Yeah.
Um, I'm interested by Detroit a little bit.
Cade Cunningham?
Yeah, I'm interested in Detroit.
Okay.
Um,
I didn't like that.
yeah, those are probably yeah.
Yeah. So for me, before I go to this comment, it's the Mavericks. They're my second favorite team. I have to say that. The Heat, the Suns. I'm interested in the Suns again, even though I don't think they're gonna make this to the finals again. I don't see that. But the Knicks, I'm not exactly fond of. I mean, I get DMs every single day from New York Knicks fans. Like, it's so bad. I mean, Leon Rose, he grew up like his daughter went to my high school, lived in my neighborhood, so I like knew them very well. But it's just like I still can't believe he's like the general manager in the New York Knicks now.
Yeah.
That's another great story. It's just like, damn. Just imagine the amount of boobs you'll hear the first time Simmons is back at the Wells Fargo Center. Yeah. That introduction, oh my god.
Yeah, it's gonna be ugly. I think is the appropriate answer to say.
Yeah. And the Trailblazers, that's another good one. But I'm just trying to picture just the sound of the boos when that happens. I mean, can you imagine? Let's say he gets traded to Timberwolves, hypothetically. He would not even want to come back to Philly to play that one game.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. You gotta like put your pride aside and play the game. I mean, are you really that petty? Like for me, that's it's icing on the cake right there.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean, I think he'll come back and he'll play. Time will tell if he's if it's going to be a long term thing. But if he's coming out there and he's just, you know, lollygagging and not really playing, it's going to be ugly.
Yeah, and I love how when he said that Embiid was ruining his game, I'm like, what? How'd you feel
Yeah.
about that?
Yep. Yeah. It's a lot of the quotes have been a lot of what has been said has been mishandled this summer with everything.
Yeah, people say that all the time. I'm right there with you. Arrogant and spoiled. I mean, think about it. It all started when him at LSU didn't want to go to class. No one gave anything, and then it's just like he has his own family around him 24/7. His shooting coach is his brother. His free throw coach is his other family member. I forget who. But it's just like, come on. How often are you like cuddled?
Yeah.
I don't think we should boo Simmons at the end of the day. I don't know what that was. I don't think we should boo Simmons at the end of the day. He gave it all when he was on the floor. Did he really though in Game 5? Like really?
I think he gave it his all. I just don't. I just think he was in a bad spot mentally, and I think that's a lot of his own doing.
Yeah. My phone went off. Dang Siri. But yeah, defense all star respect should be given where it belongs. Yeah, I mean he's arguably the best defender in the league. He should have won. I don't know why Rudy Gobert got it again.
Yeah, I'm not a big Gobert guy because I think it's like very. I don't think it's easy to anchor a rim, but I think it's probably a little bit more natural uh, to be a good defender when you're that big. And I think um, with the guy like Ben that can switch 1 through 4, 1 through 5, it's versatility, and that's something that really matters, and it plays, in any context, really.
Yeah. You think we should all boo Ben Simmons? I don't know. It's just the way you're feeling right now. I
I
mean,
wouldn't boo Ben.
you
I don't
wouldn't.
think you should. I don't think it's a good move.
I mean, what happened? I mean, there's won't do anything. Like he was handled everything. Even in college, did he mean thinking he was serious enough to take classes now that he's in the NBA? It's not working out. He wanted to oh my god, I can't read. He wants to move on to another team. I mean, who would take him at this point? It's like no one would take this guy. That's exactly what Simmons is coddled all around him and our yes man. I mean, yeah, I mean, look at Doc Rivers. I hate to bring up Doc Rivers again, but he defended Ben Simmons all year. And then when we lose in the playoffs, he's like, oh, he's got to shoot more. I'm like, what is it? I mean, it makes no sense there.
Yeah, I think Doc was trying to get more out of him, and stand by his guy, and then he had one slip up that ended up being catastrophic. So tough situation for Doc to be in, but I think Doc has handled it okay.
I mean, people are mad at him for his accountability for that. I mean, you can't win in either way in the NBA organization. Like you can't win. Either move you make until you win something, it's gonna be criticized. Every little thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, can you imagine if we actually win and win with Ben Simmons? I'll be like, oh my god, that would be like everyone will forget this whole thing has happened, and they'll be like, okay, we won. We'll shut up.
That would be that. Not much more you can say about Ben if he helps you win a championship. So
Right. What's good, guys? How excited are you for the Sixers season on a scale from 1 to 10? For me, I'm like an 8 or a 9. I can't wait for basketball. I'm like really excited for it. How about
Yeah,
you?
that's where I am. I'm just happy basketball's back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, I got the same thing when football came back because it was like, this is the longest off season, I feel like. I mean, with the whole thing with COVID, no one in arenas and everything, what
Yeah,
we've been through, it's just like, it's amazing. Like, it
yeah, for
really
sure,
is.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Now, if you were the GM right now, if you were Daryl Morey, what would you have done differently this offseason? Like, would you still have signed like Andre Drummond and Georges Niang? What would you have done differently?
So I think the issue is like they didn't have a lot of space, a lot of cap space, and so guys that they might have wanted got bigger offers elsewhere, and there's nothing that they can do about that in that case. So like you resign the guys that you can fit under that you have the ability to do and do to sign again, and then you find ways to fit guys with with the exceptions that you have, and they do have exceptions, and that's what they did. I think people forget about like the salary cap is real, and it's it's nothing that you can like get past it. I mean, once you're locked into 3 max deals, you're kind of hamstrung.
Yeah, it's just, I love this team and I hate this team. People are like, I hate this team because of Ben Simmons now. I won't root. But for me, I'm like, I've been there since the beginning, since I was born. I mean, like, it's another obstacle we got to hop over.
Yeah, it's always something with the Sixers, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the starting five with Ben Simmons in there, that was the best starting five of the year last year, honestly. And if Ben Simmons is back, I don't know if we can run that. Could we run that back with the best starting five?
I ooh.
I don't.
Time will tell, I guess, right? I mean, like again, we don't know what he's gonna be when he comes back.
Oh, he's like a dang celebrity at this point. I mean, all of this like nonsense. I feel like I'm watching like the Kardashians or something. And he dated Kendall, so there you go. But it's
Yeah.
just like, oh my god, people are so angry because of the hard amount of hard work he puts in, which is like, I don't know behind the scenes, but what have I seen? He doesn't do it during the season, and we're like, okay, we're going through this again and again and again. I just don't get it.
Yeah, for sure.
I just don't
For
get
sure. It's makes good content for the writers, but for everybody else, it's a
it.
pain.
Yeah, so I just had to ask, going back to your writing stuff, so we can close this out. How'd you? I mean, where'd you go to school for? What'd you go to school for? You told me it wasn't for Sixers writing.
Yeah, I went to school for finance,
Oh,
and yeah, I got into journalism late and doing both now.
where'd you go to school?
Villanova.
Hey, okay.
Yeah, local guy. Yep.
Wow, okay. I like
Yep.
that. I mean,
Yeah, it was a great experience for sure.
yeah. I mean, you like the Villanova basketball team now with Jay Wright?
Won me 2 championships while I was there, freshman year and junior year. So
Oh, really? So you know
y
Brunson?
yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We had good times, that's for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually good friends with somebody who played against him, who went to Penn. Jake Silpy.
Okay.
Does that name ring a bell at all? Or
Not particularly, but
oh,
go on.
okay, but he would just tell me how good like Mikal Bridges is, Jalen Brunson is. I mean, can you imagine? We drafted Mikal Bridges and we traded him. I mean,
That was
that
yeah, I
killed
still think about
me.
that sometimes. That was that would have been a just good player Mikal Bridges turned into, and he could have been a perfect fit here.
That's just like kill me because we wanted to get LeBron. And I'm like, there was no way we were gonna get LeBron. There was no
Yeah.
way. I mean, LA, he wanted to make movies, he wanted to do endorsement deals and everything. There was no way we were gonna get LeBron. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of rumors about that whole scenario, and I would be very curious one day to figure out if how real that was.
Yeah, yeah. And what kills me the most is the Sixers draft. I mean, the history of their drafts. I mean, Jaleel Okafor, obviously Markel Fultz and that whole thing. Nerlens Noel, now he's playing good. I mean, what the best pick we had, honestly, was Allen Iverson.
And Joel.
You got Embiid.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So the last question that just popped. How'd you feel once we got Al Horford? Like, were you fooled like me? Like that whole spacing thing? I thought that was like brilliant because he was apparently the Embiid stopper, and we got him in a.
I was very much so. I was very much so I bought into the Al Horford idea. I probably bought into it too much, but in retrospect, it was awful.
Same with Josh Richardson also.
That's another guy. Just
I mean, they wanted to go for defense, and like Josh Richardson, who can't, he's on the Celtics now, and it's like not even starting. He's like there, like just amazing. So we're about to close this off. I want to say thank you for coming on here. It was a great talking Sixers with you, and hopefully we can do it again when the Sixers are playing again.
Of course, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and real quick, you go to every Sixers game?
That's correct.
Oh my God. You probably know John Brown. You know the Browns?
I don't know the Browns.
Their trucking company, like the big sponsorships and everything. I forget the trucking company's name. But yeah, what's good, Ryan? How's it going, man? Yeah, so last thing. Embiid. What do you think of him this year? With Ben Simmons, same thing or
with Ben? I mean, I think Embiid's poised to have another great year. It's you just gotta hope he stays on his feet and doesn't take any crazy falls or doesn't bend his knee in any kind of awkward ways.
Yeah, I bet he went to the place I work at for like an event and stuff. I was able to talk to him after. I was looking up and my neck when he left, I couldn't move. I was stuck. I'm like, because I'm 5'5", he's 7'3", and I'm like, I'm done. I can't.
Yeah, he's a massive dude. He's huge. He's insanely big in person. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like insane. And now Allen Iverson's going to the place I work at, so I'm like, okay, a little bit smaller. I can look eye to eye. My neck will move.
Yeah, he towers over you and he dominates. He's a physically dominating individual, even just by like the eye test. Like he just looks like he's just insanely big.
Yeah. And speaking of Iverson, do you want him to work for the organization?
I think there can be good and there can be bad that come from that.
What could be the bad though? I'm just like
impacting younger guys. I think he's somebody that if anything we've learned about AI, it's that I don't know if you can trust him to be responsible, but I think if you put him in a role where there's low, you can find a role for him that has low downside.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing's ridiculous, but I just want to say thank you again. It's been fun. I mean, hopefully the Sixers do well this year. You enjoy your games. I'll be following you on Twitter. I mean, I can't wait to see that. But yeah, thanks for coming on, man. It means a lot. It really does.
No problem. No problem. You take care and you have a good one.
Yep, you too. Thank you. Hold on. That was a cool guy. Very cool guy. All right, guys. Peace.